That's what I like to see. Pockets getting hit hard, bro. Hard. Because somebody need to hold these players accountable for the stupidity they have been putting out.
Goes to the locker room and tweets out white privilege in the middle of the game. Now, here's the kicker to me. A flagrant 2 has to be contact that can lead to an injury that looks excessive. DJonai, it was about as excessive as possible. If there was any evidence of there being white privilege, this was not it. What the hell do y'all think?
Now, it states here, Reebok is reportedly dropping their endorsement for DJonai Carrington after she attacked Sophie Cunningham. Let's go.
Reebok is done. The money is gone. And Carrington did it to herself. This is the moment a bad week became a career crisis. DiJonai Carrington, once the face of Reebok's basketball relaunch, is now reportedly watching that endorsement deal collapse in real time. The same player who signed a multi-year contract built on her Most Improved Player award and all-defensive first-team honors is now watching her marketability evaporate because of choices she made in the hours after a single flagrant foul. But here is what makes this story genuinely stunning. The foul itself was not what scared the brand away.
Look at this here. Reebok is reportedly dropping their endorsement for DJonai Carrington after she attacked Sophie Cunningham. Okay, and a bunch of people are saying this is true. You know, I don't know, but here it says, perfect. Good job, Reebok, for having a morals clause in her contract and enforcing it by pulling it. Carrington is a bully that the league apparently is protecting. Wake up, WNBA, before someone really gets hurt. You'll get sued because we Americans won't stand for this abuse. Do you agree with me?
Flagrant fouls happen. Ejections happen. Players recover from those. What Reebok reportedly cannot survive is the aftermath. The white privilege post from the locker room, the smiley face pointed at the next matchup, the combative response to a respected analyst, and 3 different explanations delivered in 3 days. And now the name being floated to replace her is Sophie Cunningham, the same player Carrington fouled. The entire sports world is reacting. Fans are flooding sponsor pages. Analysts are breaking down every misstep. Stay with me, because the full timeline of how one bad decision spiraled into a financial catastrophe will show you exactly why composure matters more than talent.
Just a hard hit. That's definitely going to be upgraded, I think, to a flagrant 2, Ryan.
I think that is going to be a flagrant 2. There is wind up, there is follow through, there's potential for injury.
Without
Sophie
question.
Cunningham in a vulnerable position in the air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question.
WNBA player DiJonai Carrington of the Chicago Sky was ejected after a flagrant 2 foul on Sophie Cunningham in last night's WNBA game. As you saw from the video, Sophie was going for a fast break layup when DiJonai decided it would be a good idea to go after her head instead of the ball. So that obviously prompted the flagrant 2. The referees take a look at it and she was ejected, and a lot of people are calling for her suspension after this.
The collapse did not happen because of one bad moment. It happened because of a pattern. In the span of one single week, DiJonai Carrington picked up 3 separate fouls that had people rewinding the footage just to make sure they saw it right the first time. These were not hustle fouls. They were not the kind of contact you shrug off as 2 competitors fighting for position in a physical league. These were the kind of plays that make analysts go quiet for a second before they even know what to say about it on air. And every single one of them somehow found its way to Sophie Cunningham. That is exactly the kind of coincidence that stops looking like a coincidence after the 3rd time it happens in the same handful of days. The first foul was bad enough. The second raised eyebrows. The 3rd made it undeniable that something was happening beyond normal competitive basketball.
Because of the timeline of everything, and because of, if you want to call it the jealous nature, the legitimate hatred for somebody because of what they believe in and because of what they look like and because of how popular they are, I could say it's a targeted attack.
Yeah, oh, clearly. I mean, I think most people believe that.
But then on top of that, you know, it's not only white privilege she puts out there. She puts the next, in our next post, she puts the game date of the next time they're going to play the Fever.
Yep.
I mean, that's almost like, it feels to me like it's a threat.
Physical basketball is not new. Nobody is asking players to go soft out there. Toughness has always been part of what makes this league entertaining to watch. There is a difference, however, between playing tough and playing reckless. A hard foul on a legitimate defensive play is one thing. A clothesline across the neck of a defenseless player on a fast break is something else entirely. A body check fighting for position is one thing. A forearm to the jaw of an airborne player is something else entirely. And a lot of people watching these clips felt that Carrington crossed that line more than once in a matter of days. That is not a one-off bad night you brush off after sleeping on it. That is a pattern. And patterns are exactly the kind of thing a brand's marketing team pays very close attention to when they are deciding who gets to keep wearing the logo on national television.
DJonai with another signature move yet again versus the Valks tonight.
And then she put both hands up.
Damn. What is she doing with her left hand? Look at her left hand. Just boom, let me just poke you in the eye real quick. What is this goofball, uncoordinated individual doing, poking somebody in the eye with their hands up? Hands up. Dude, this is so bad. Hands up. Swipe for the ball with our right hand while poking the player in the eye with the left hand. You really can't make this stuff.
What made the pattern even more glaring was the visual evidence. The replays showed Carrington's eyes locked on Cunningham's head. They showed the wind-up, the follow-through, the contact to the face and neck. They showed Cunningham hitting the floor hard, unable to break her fall, bleeding. The footage was shared everywhere. Slow-motion clips circulated across every platform. Fans began compiling old incidents, stitching together a timeline of Carrington's most dangerous plays: the Clark eye poke, the Shepard fingernail scratch, the Cunningham clothesline, and now these new fouls. The pattern was not just visible, it was undeniable. And once a pattern is out there, once it is being shared in slow motion with dramatic music attached, a single apology does not undo 3 separate incidents stacked on top of each other in the exact same week.
Instead, DJonai decided to post from the locker room on Threads saying white privilege. Cunningham herself admitted that she's been ejected for the exact same thing before and deserved it. But yet that card got played in seconds before the ejection even cooled off. And now a sitting state attorney general just told an entire professional league that he will treat their hardest fouls as criminal assault. Florida doesn't even have a WNBA team. This is literally a warning, not a jurisdiction, people. You fucking clotheslined her. And I would be saying this about anybody regardless of what the fuck they look like. But literally right when the WNBA was really starting to become exciting.
For Reebok, this was the beginning of a nightmare. The brand had signed Carrington hoping she would be one of the faces of their basketball line. Someone with personality, someone people would want to root for both on the floor and off it. That is the whole point of an endorsement deal. A brand is not just paying for your jump shot. They are paying for the way you make people feel when they see your name on a box in a store or an ad running before their favorite video. And lately, the way Carrington has made people feel has not been warm and fuzzy. It has been the opposite. Brands notice that shift a lot faster than most fans realize. The marketing team sees the comments. The executives see the engagement numbers. The social media managers see the flood of angry messages. And when the pattern becomes impossible to ignore, the internal conversations begin. How long do we stay attached to this?
Coach loves us. She didn't see the clip. You know what, DJonai, she is a hell of a player. She's a great defender. And so she coached her for I don't know how many years up in Connecticut. So give her flowers, and she didn't see it, and that's okay. Me and Steph are great. Steph is great with all of us. And so it's really the outside noise that's trying to distract us, but we're good.
If the fouls had been the end of the story, Carrington might have survived. Players get ejected for flagrant fouls all the time. They take the fine, they move on, and a week later, nobody remembers it outside of a highlight reel. But Carrington did not let the story end. After getting ejected for the clothesline on Cunningham, she went to the locker room and posted white privilege on Threads, tagging the Indiana Fever directly. No context, no explanation. Just 2 loaded words thrown into a national controversy that already had Cunningham's name attached to it from an unrelated story about transgender athletes in women's sports. The timing could not have been worse. A player ejected for a dangerous foul against a white opponent immediately posting about white privilege was never going to be interpreted as anything other than an accusation that the ejection was racially motivated. Whether that was her intent or not, the first impression it left on millions of people was clear. Then came the follow-up. Carrington posted the date of the next Sky Fever matchup with a smiley face emoji. To a lot of people, that read less like an accident and more like someone poking the bear on purpose. It looked like a threat. It looked like a promise that the next game would bring more of the same. The combination of the white privilege post and the smiley face date created a narrative that Carrington could not control. She was not just a player who committed a hard foul. She was a player who committed a hard foul, accused the league of racism, and then appeared to look forward to the next opportunity to do it again. That is a devastating narrative, and once it takes hold, it is extraordinarily difficult to dislodge. Carrington tried to walk some of it back. There was a statement, some softer comments to reporters, an attempt to reframe the whole thing as heated competition rather than anything personal or intentional. On paper, that is usually the right move. Own it, soften it, move forward, and let the next good performance do the talking instead. But the backtrack has not landed the way these things normally do because it came after 3 fouls and 1 loaded comment. Not after just one bad moment people could easily forgive and forget within a day or two. Once a pattern is already out there, being shared across every platform, a single apology does not undo 3 separate incidents stacked on top of each other in the exact same week. The damage was already done. The narrative was already set, and every attempt to walk it back only added another layer of confusion.
Reebok still has DJ Carrington on an endorsement deal after she cheap shots Sophie Cunningham and screams white privilege. That's not an athlete. That's a liability. Drop her or America drops you.
Emmanuel Acho destroyed the backtrack with surgical precision. He pointed out that America is a speaker-oriented country. The burden of clarity is on the person doing the speaking. If you post 2 loaded words immediately after a controversial event, tagging the team involved, and you do not provide any additional context, you do not get to blame the audience for interpreting those words in the most obvious way. Carrington had every opportunity to explain what she meant. She chose not to. She chose to let 2 words hang in the air, knowing exactly how they would be interpreted.
DJonai Carrington is on the brink of being dropped by Reebok, and let me tell you what, man, this is not good for DJonai Carrington at all. And then you have this going on as well. Thousands demand Reebok drop DJonai Carrington after brutal attack on Sophie Cunningham. Hold her accountable. I firmly support Reebok dropping DJonai Carrington's endorsement. Okay, so a lot of people are, getting behind this thing, and DJonai Carrington is on the brink of potentially losing millions of dollars with sponsorship. Here it says breaking thousands of people are calling Reebok to drop. This thing is everywhere, man. This thing is everywhere. So,
and only after the backlash did she try to retroactively insist that everyone had misunderstood. Acho's point was devastating because it applies not just to this situation, but to any situation where someone drops an inflammatory statement and then plays victim when people react. If you do not want people to think your post is about the foul, do not post it right after the foul. If you do not want people to connect it to the player you just hit, do not tag her team. The fan reaction was immediate, organized, and relentless. Social media did not sit quiet on any of this. One tweet that picked up serious traction read, "Reebok still has DJ Carrington on an endorsement deal after she cheap shots Sophie Cunningham and screams white privilege. That's not an athlete. That's a liability. Drop her or America drops you." That is not a soft take. That is somebody drawing a hard line and daring the brand to pick a side. And judging by the replies underneath it, a lot of people agreed with every single word. Quote tweets started piling up with people sharing their own receipts from earlier games, old clips resurfacing, screenshots of past comments, all of it getting stitched together into one bigger case against her staying on the brand's roster at all.
Comment. She said she never once claimed that the assessment of the foul was white privilege. That was your assumption. All I could say is, if you are posting during the game, is my understanding, it doesn't take a genius to connect the two together. Sure, it's very vague, and that's kind of the criticism of this whole thing. It's a vague critique that has no relevance to what transpired. There was nothing about what transpired that had anything to do with white privilege. It's really that simple, right? I don't got nothing personally against her. I hate that her game doesn't have her in the spotlight right now, because she had been playing pretty well. She had the Sky on a 3-1 record with her returning. This is just an L across the board for her, and she just continues to double down on it. And I like what Acho said. The rarest W for him. He said, the burden is on you for being clear, direct, and easy to understand. She left so much room for people to take that a million different directions. People that were supporting her were taking it a million different directions than she probably meant. And her inability to just chalk it up to, hey, I was frustrated, I had a lot of things on my mind, and I post that, I shouldn't have made that post. That would have gotten her a lot more grace. But doubling down on this nonsense, I don't get it. I don't get why people support it, but hey, y'all got it.
The pressure campaign was not a one-day burst of anger. It was sustained, it built momentum, and it turned into an actual movement, with people openly saying they would stop buying Reebok products entirely as long as Carrington stayed on the roster of endorsed athletes.
If you are going to suggest that we should think critically about a statement white privilege when you at the Indiana Fever, you didn't give us much to think critically about. We, the interpreter, now have to try to figure out what exactly were you talking about. Well, common sense would deduce that you were talking about fouling a white individual and getting ejected for fouling that white individual. Now, as I said on social media, and I will say in real life, if that is not what you were talking about implying, then that's on me. I will stand down and I will stand corrected. But the last thing I must again reiterate, so many people have asked you amongst others, well then what are you talking about? We still have yet to get a response. All that DJonai, you have told us is, hey, I wasn't talking about the foul. Well then, what were you talking about? I refuse to believe, on behalf of everybody that is confused, we're not all idiots and you are the one genius in the room. That's just not the case. So I say this with all respect. I respect your intelligence. I respect your response. And you currently on the court hooping, so respect to you. But there's still a lot of errors in your thought process and thought pattern.
And that's really the core problem here from a purely business standpoint, separate from anything about who was right or wrong on the actual plays themselves.
When customers start threatening a boycott over one athlete's behavior, that is the moment a marketing department stops debating internally and starts scrambling for a solution. Because lost sales are a lot harder to explain away in a quarterly earnings call than a bad foul is to explain away on a highlight show the next morning. The executives at Reebok are not basketball fans first. They are business people. They look at numbers, they look at brand sentiment, they look at the flood of negative comments drowning out everything else being posted about their signature shoe, and they ask a simple question: is this athlete worth the risk? The answer, based on the last week, is increasingly no. The timing made everything worse. This all happened during a stretch of the season when cameras are on every single game, when highlight accounts are actively hunting for controversial moments to clip and repost within minutes. A questionable foul that might have slipped by quietly during a random mid-season game in an empty arena instead got amplified across every platform almost instantly, replayed from 6 different angles by 6 different accounts before the night was even over. That kind of visibility cuts both ways. It can turn a good moment into a viral highlight overnight, but it can just as easily turn one bad decision into a week-long news cycle that a brand simply cannot afford to attach itself to anymore. Carrington found herself on the wrong side of that equation, and the consequences are now playing out in real time. Here is where the story takes a turn that nobody expected. Word is spreading that Reebok is quietly looking at cutting ties with Carrington, and the name being floated to replace her on the roster of endorsed athletes is not some random rookie nobody has heard of. It is Sophie Cunningham. Yes, that's Sophie Cunningham. The same player Carrington has spent the last week fouling like she owes her money. If this is actually true, it is one of the wildest turnarounds you will see in sports marketing this year. Because a few months ago, nobody would have guessed these two names would end up tangled together in a shoe deal story, let alone on opposite ends of a controversy that is now threatening one of their careers financially. The contrast between the two players could not be starker. Cunningham absorbed the hits and stayed quiet. She kept playing, kept showing up, and let her performance answer for her. When asked about the white privilege post, she said simply that the league is addressing it, that this has nothing to do with race, and that she was ejected last year for a similar play and deserved it. No shouting, no demands, no accusations, just a calm reminder that she had been on the other side of a flagrant foul before and taken her own punishment without complaint. Carrington, by contrast, threw the hits and got loud about it afterward. She posted the inflammatory comment. She tagged the team. She fought with critics online. She offered 3 different explanations in 3 days. The visual was simple. One player getting hit and staying quiet. One player throwing the hits and getting loud about it afterward. People notice which one of those looks better on camera, and brands notice it even faster than the fans do. What makes the reported Reebok move even more remarkable is that Cunningham already has her own signature situation brewing with Adidas. Normally, that alone would make her an unlikely candidate for a Reebok deal, since athletes usually do not juggle competing shoe brands at the same time in this kind of sport. But, according to what is being reported, Reebok is allegedly willing to get creative here, structuring something that would let Cunningham keep her Adidas shoe while still bringing her into the Reebok family in some capacity. Almost like a peace offering aimed directly at fans who have been asking the brand to make a change for a while now. It is an unusual setup, and it tells you how badly Reebok wants to fix its image right now, quickly and publicly, before more customers walk away for good. Think about how strange that actually is for a second. A brand is reportedly willing to share space with a competitor's shoe just to bring in an athlete who represents the opposite of what is currently causing them trouble. That is not a small gesture you make casually. That is a brand admitting, without saying it directly in any press release, that keeping their current athlete the way things stand right now is doing more damage than losing some exclusivity ever would. When a company starts bending its own usual rules just to win back customer trust, that generally means the internal numbers are a lot worse than anything they are willing to say publicly to reporters or shareholders. And for Carrington, the timing could not be worse. From a purely business standpoint, separate from anything about who was right or wrong on the actual plays themselves, analysts breaking this down have pointed out that endorsement deals live and die on one simple question. Is this person somebody the average customer wants to see representing a brand they buy from at the store? Skill on the court gets you the offer in the first place. Likability and public trust are what keep the deal alive once the cameras are rolling for a different reason than a highlight reel. Right now, based on how this week has gone, that trust is looking shaky. And shaky trust is exactly the kind of thing that makes a brand start quietly shopping around for a replacement while the current deal is technically still active on paper. Endorsement contracts tend to have language built in for exactly this kind of situation. Clauses about conduct, clauses about public image, clauses about anything that could embarrass the brand attached to your name in a very public way. 3 rash fouls and a heated comment about a fellow player all inside one single week is precisely the kind of stretch those clauses were written for in the first place. It is not just Reebok that is watching this unfold either. Other brands pay attention to these stories too, because nobody wants to be the next company explaining to angry customers why their athlete is still cashing checks after a week like this one. And that kind of ripple effect can quietly cost an athlete more than just one contract. What makes it sting even more is that none of this had to happen the way it did. Fouls happen in basketball every single night, and most of them are forgotten by the next morning without a second thought. If Carrington had picked up one hard foul and handled the aftermath with composure, none of this turns into a story big enough to threaten a shoe deal worth real money. It is the combination that did it. 3 incidents back to back, a loaded comment thrown into the middle of it at the worst possible moment, and then a backtrack that came a little too late to change the narrative that had already formed online days earlier. Once fans decide someone is unpromotable, walking that label back takes a lot more than one polite statement handed to reporters after the damage is already done. DJonai Carrington did not lose a shoe deal because of one hard foul. She is losing it because of everything she said in the days after, when she had every chance to slow down and did not take it. The flagrant foul was bad. The ejection was deserved. But players survive those moments all the time. What they do not survive is the self-inflicted damage that comes from posting white privilege from the locker room, tagging the team of the player you just hit, following up with a smiley face aimed at the next matchup, then offering 3 different explanations in 3 days while attacking anyone who dares to question you. That pattern is what scared Reebok away, and it is what will scare away every other brand watching this unfold. The contrast with Sophie Cunningham could not be clearer. Cunningham got hit in the face, drew blood, and responded with grace. Carrington committed the foul, got ejected, and responded with chaos. One player looks like the adult in the room, the other looks like she is still trying to figure out what she even wants to say. And now Reebok is reportedly considering replacing Carrington with the very player she attacked. That is the kind of poetic justice that writes itself. So here is the question. Should Reebok terminate the deal, or does Carrington deserve a second chance? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you want more in-depth analysis and the biggest stories in basketball, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We will be here covering every development. Click the video on the screen, and I will see you in the next one.